It was the Make America Great Again rally, and he was taking a victory.
It reminded us all of the campaign, the Trump campaign, the election. He went up there, took a lot of credit for recent success for Republicans. He made several comments about he is winning, the White House is winning.
And last week, this is Tech Week, and it started with the CEOs and CFOs of the most powerful tech companies in the country, and that's what he's trying to bring to rural America, and he understands the working class in rural America. Put him in the White House, and that was his message yesterday, and I think it resonated. For obviously, the crowd was there, and there's also something about the president. We've seen him a lot. He actually feels great about what's happened with these special elections because in the people around him, there's a sense of, oh my goodness, when's this, when's this Russia thing going to get done? When are we going to stop with this Comey talk? But out there, you feel as though it's not resonating with the American people. In fact, here's a little of some of his comments last night.
I think healthcare is going to happen and infrastructure is going to happen. You're going to have a lot of exciting things over the next few months, and I look forward to being able to produce it. Let's see what happens. If we had even a little Democrat support, just a little, like a couple of votes, you'd have everything. But again, they just want to stop. They just want to obstruct. And their plan isn't working because they thought they were going to win last night in Atlanta. And they've been unbelievably nasty, really nasty. And they thought they spent close to $30 million on this kid who forgot to live in the community that he was in. I mean, they are making it a little bit hard to get their support, but who cares? And if Karen Handel had lost, they would have blamed it on me, which is fine. But if she had lost, they would have been there for weeks talking about this. This would have been the greatest defeat in the history of American politics. When she won, when they said, projected winner is Karen Handel, then they said, we switch to another program, right? So it was so short. They couldn't get out of there fast enough. This happened in Montana, right? In Kansas. Last night, South Carolina, with Ralph, who was expected to win and he won. California. But it's been incredible. So we're 5-0. We're 5-0. And
of course, he was talking about the race, the special election in the congressional 6th district of Georgia, which once upon a time was held by the former Speaker of the House and former 2012 GOP presidential candidate. Of course, we're talking about Newt Gingrich, whose book, Understanding Trump, just hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Congratulations, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to you.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you to everybody at Fox who helped us do such a good job with Understanding Trump.
Well, it's a really good book. So, we heard before the election this was going to be a referendum on Donald Trump. At least that's what the mainstream media wanted us to think. We also saw the early polls. No way she could win, but she did. What happened?
It was a referendum on Donald Trump.
That was easy.
You know Georgia.
Was right.
You know that district, and you know too that he spent $20 million more.
Largest Republican turnout ever in a Georgia special election. People said, "Oh, this is really a and Karen Handel is a good candidate. She got better and better as the campaign went on. Ossoff's not living in the district, as President Trump pointed out, just became a huge weight on him. They had a debate, and each got to ask one question. She turned and said, "So who are you going to vote for in the election?" He couldn't answer because he wasn't allowed to vote in his own election. Yeah. And I think all that stuff came together. But in the end, I think that the margin of victory were people who were determined not to allow the news media and Nancy Pelosi and Hollywood liberals to defeat Donald Trump in their district. And I think that was probably the margin of victory. So the news media had it right. This was a referendum on Trump. He won. The problem for the news media is they can't come to grips with the fact that in 5 different specials, the Republicans have won. And that sort of says maybe Trump's doing a lot better in America than he is in the news media.
Mr. Speaker, there's questions about Nancy Pelosi's future coming from both parties, obviously, and now we're hearing from Democrats, some of them not really willing to speak out on that. But still, Democrats are having their issues. Is it time for some soul searching? Is it time for some changes, possibly at the top with Nancy Pelosi?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, you want to
I
keep
hope
her.
they keep Nancy for 10 more years. I want her there for at least another decade. I mean, we have all the ads done. They work perfectly in Georgia. We know exactly how to run against the Nancy Pelosi-led party. We'd love to have the question be in 2018, Nancy Pelosi versus Paul Ryan. And I hope that the Democrats keep her right where she is for a long, long time, at least a decade.
You know, one thing is clear, Mr. Speaker, even from the week you were here when your book rolled out, is that I sense that the Russia thing has hit a brick wall, and that the Democrats, after these 4 straight losses, are going to let him be president and go at him on health care, North Korea policy, and things like that, because even they can't get a show through with collusion.
Well, let me draw a distinction. I think you're right, and I think, frankly, we were not very smart. I mean, Jay Johnson put it right yesterday. Remember, for Jay Johnson to say the Russians had successfully done something, he had to say he failed as Homeland Security Chief. And so we should have turned it back on the Obama administration from day one and said, are you telling us that you were so incompetent that for 6 months the Russians were doing something and you didn't know it? I think they would have to have said, oh, no, we're not that incompetent. So I think Jay Johnson was one, and he was a very competent guy. I think he's one more brick, if you'll put it, in that wall. Here's the problem. Mueller, who's hiring liberal Democrats as the lawyers, who came from a law firm which gave, think about this number, gave 0.19%, 0.19 of 1% of its donations went to Trump. 99.81% went to Hillary. That's where Mueller's from.
Right.
Mueller's now going to drop Russia, go to obstruction. If he can't make obstruction work, he's going to drop obstruction and go to finances. But he is out there trying to find a way to get either Trump or somebody close to Trump. I think it is disgraceful. I think it's a disaster. And people need to understand. Mueller's running a left-wing Democratic group. The lawyers he's hired have terrible records. One of them was employed by the Clinton administration specifically to stop Freedom of Information Act requests. Now, how's that for transparency?
Yeah.
One of them was repudiated 9-0 by the Supreme Court after they destroyed a company with 85,000 jobs. So, I mean, you look carefully at Mueller, because now it's not going to be Russia. Now it's going to be a personal vendetta by Robert Mueller against the President of the United States.
Well, you know what's interesting, Mr. Speaker? We had Mark Penn on the program about 20 minutes ago, and he said he's got a new Harris-Harvard poll that's going to be coming out, he said, Monday in the Hill newspaper. And one of the findings is, and he was reluctant to give us the full depth of it, but the headline is, regarding Russia, the American people think that all this Russia talk and how they're promoting it on the Democratic side is hurting America.
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, but look, the Democrats have made it very clear that they are, and we'll see what happens as they digest the defeat in Georgia, because that may have been sort of the unlocking event that gets them to come to grips with reality. But up until now, since election night, they have been so traumatized by losing and so traumatized by Donald J. Trump winning that they have literally been incapable of cooperating on almost anything. And I hope the president's right. I think, for example, in the Senate, I wouldn't be shocked, because Mitch McConnell's such a great leader, to see 2 or 3 Democrats from very heavily Trump states, a North Dakota, a Missouri, a Montana,
West
an
Virginia.
Indiana, maybe make a decision they're going to vote for West Virginia. That some of those may decide they want to vote for the health bill because they don't want to go home as an anti-Trump, now bitter end liberal.
It would be stunning.
Because they won't get reelected if that's
It would
what
be
they do.
stunning, because we haven't seen that in 9 years.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
All right, Mr.
Sorry, but
Speaker,
it's
thanks for coming on with us this morning. Good to see you.
And stay number 1, okay, Mr. Speaker?
care.
Let's do it 2 weeks in a row.
It'll work.
All right.
There we go.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Jillian.
Good morning, guys. To you at home as well. We have a lot of news to get you caught up on right now. So let's begin with a Fox News alert. Breaking right now, ISIS could attack at any moment, and that has the world on high alert. The brutal terror group calling for a surge of attacks during Islam's holiest day. This as the feds investigate an act of terror on American soil at an airport in Flint, Michigan. Authorities say Amor Fatui shouted Allah Akbar before ambushing an officer from behind, repeatedly stabbing him in the neck with a 12-inch hunting knife. Fatui, now behind bars, he holds dual citizenship for Tunisia and Canada. Virginia GOP Congressman Scott Taylor joined us earlier, saying the key to preventing attacks is communication between law enforcement.
International cities need to communicate more as well, too, and have a little more flat communication about potential suspects out there that may be radicalized.
Lieutenant Jeff Novell hurt in the attack in serious but stable condition at this hour. Today, Senate Republicans will unveil their plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. After a secret legislative process, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will roll out a draft discussion to his members this morning. Sources tell Fox the reason for the secrecy is because the bill will be substantially different than the House version. Now, this comes as the nation's second largest health insurer, Anthem, just ended its agreement in Indiana and Wisconsin for next year. Anthem says it can't manage the cost of sick patients signing up for Obamacare. That's a quick look at your headlines, guys. I will see you in a little bit.
Another Thanks. Reason. All right. Thank you very much, Jillian. Meanwhile, just days after Steve Scalise was shot, another congressman releasing these threatening voicemails he got at his office.
We're going to hook your down, wrap her up around your neck, and hang you from a lamppost.
Oh, man, but Congressman Jason Chaffetz says nothing was done about that. He will join us live. We're going to talk about that coming up.
And President Trump says the border wall will go solar, could go solar. What do the American people think about that? The brand new dials just came in.
President Trump out of the D.C. swamp and back in the heartland for a campaign-style rally in Cedar Rapids. So did his message resonate with voters? Lee Carter is a president and pollster with Ms. Lansky and Partners and put a lot of his sound bites to the test. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, first up, we've heard the president talk many times about building the wall. He's got support on the right. If he made it a solar wall, he'd get support on the left, right?
That's what you would think.
All right, watch this soundbite and then look at the dials.
We're thinking about building the wall as a solar wall, so it creates energy and pays for itself. And this way, Mexico will have to pay much less money, and that's good.
All right, grade-wise?
So you can see the Republicans love this. They gave it an A. Independents a B-, while Democrats gave it an F. Now, I was really surprised that Democrats gave it an F because I would have thought they want alternative energy. This is great. Now, what they said is, at best, they thought it was a joke, and at worst, they thought it was him taunting the Democrats a little bit and almost making fun of them. So it sort of backfired with Democrats. I know he's not trying to reach those folks. Independents and the Republicans really did respond, though.
Okay. Also, the president talked a little bit about how he would love to have the political parties get together, watch this soundbite and the lines.
It would be a beautiful, beautiful thing if we could get together as two parties that love our country and come up with that great health care and come up with that great tax deal for our people and tax reform and infrastructure and so many other things.
And the Democrats didn't like it, but the Republicans and the Independents were together.
They sure were. They both gave it an A, while Democrats gave it a C. And I would say a C from Democrats is pretty good. So I think across the board, most people agreed with them. It would be a beautiful, beautiful thing if Republicans and Democrats could get together.
This is his fifth rally in 5 months. Tell me why this is an effective tool for the president to use.
You know, one of the things that Donald Trump has done so well throughout the campaign is he gets his message out directly to the people. He is a president of the people, for the people, and that's why he resonates so much. And when he feels very much, I think, like his message gets distorted. So when he goes out there, this is who he is. People want to hear directly from him. You can just see the engagement, and the energy is really clear and palpable. And I think he feeds off of it as well. And you can see it's sort of a virtuous circle.
Some people complain about his Twitter use, but nobody complains about him going to the rallies.
No,
same thing,
really.
Jumping past the media filter.
And I'll tell you, a lot of people that I speak to in these groups love his use of Twitter.
There you go. All right. Lee Carter, thank you. Meanwhile, straight ahead, 5 years before he was elected president, Donald Trump tweeted out some real estate advice. It turns out it was exactly on the money.
Check your watch. It's time for news by the numbers. First, $49 million. That's the asking price of former First Lady Jackie Kennedy Onassis' home. That's her childhood home. It looks pretty nice. It's kind of like Sandra Smith's estate. The Virginia estate was built in 1919. It has 9 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, an indoor and outdoor pool. Next. You're going to love this story. $1 million. That's how much this house is a fixer-upper on HGTVs. Now, it went for $28,000. It's a 2-story home with 1 bed and 1 bath, and now it's 1,000 square feet. It was built in 1920, listed at $28,000, now over $1 million. It's hard for me to imagine that being a good buy. And finally, speaking of what I have in my savings account, $1 billion. That's how much George Clooney is getting for his tequila company, which looks exactly like that. According to Kelly in the control room, really good, no hangover. The Oscar winner handing it over to the world's largest spirits maker, Diageo. Is that the way you say it? Ted? Good. I don't know why I'm asking Ted. Clooney started the company as a private collection with his friends. Now to Sandra.
Wow, that was an amazing walk and talk. Bravo, Brian. All right, 5 years before he was president, Donald Trump made a very bold claim on the future of America's housing market, tweeting this back in June 2012. Now is the time to buy housing before values have fully recovered. In 5 years, remember, I told you so. Well, it seems the president was right on the money as housing prices continue to rise across the country. Joining us now to discuss is host of The Property Man on Fox Business Network, Bob Massey.
Good morning.
Bob, so good to see you. So
Thank you.
The president, he nailed it. 5 years ago, he has the right today to say, I told you so?
And so much, many people in the real estate business, like the president, of course, who understands real estate, Sandra, saw how everything was diving down, and this was a great time to go in and buy. Those people that were in the investment business, investors in real estate, hedge funds, and others, went in and bought many properties all over the country, and now they've skyrocketed. It's a tremendous return on their business.
So he made these comments back in 2012. It was in the second quarter of 2012. Can you give us an idea? We've got a housing price index. We don't want to get too wonky, but it's a very clear illustration of what happened to housing prices, that dramatic decline that we saw in prices. And it was right in that year, 2012, that Trump made that prediction. He put out that tweet about housing, buy now, and it brings us to the present. Things have certainly turned around. Is the trend going to continue?
Yeah, there's a couple things. First of all, that was pocketed in different parts of the country. For example, Vegas, Texas, Florida, New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California really felt, the crisis and the losses from like 07 to 012 getting at that point. At this point in time, the biggest problem that we're experiencing in Vegas, for example, which is sort of the microcosm, there's not a lot of inventory. So now, as a result of that, when you don't have a lot of inventory on the market, as you know, the demand is there. So as a result, the prices are going up. So if the inventory opens up, the prices will stabilize. But right now, properties, for example, in Vegas between $250,000 and $450,000, there's a bidding war. If you went to buy a home on a retail market right now in Vegas, there's a bidding war on it.
Well, Bob, as usual, we have viewer emails coming in for you. John from Florida says, I have continued issues with the HOA in my development. I feel like I am being treated differently. What rights do I have?
Homeowners associations obviously play a very important role in developments throughout the country. If, in fact, John, that you feel that you're being treated differently, that another neighbor is getting something you asked for, you really have to get some counsel, have them review the CC&Rs, which is the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, the bylaws. HOA boards have broad discretionary powers. You're going to have to get a little enforcement from an attorney to help you figure out why is it you're being treated different if you want something done to your home.
All right, good information. And then Sarah from Scottsdale writes in, watch The Property Man each week and learn so much. Live in Scottsdale and wonder if you feel the property values are going up. I assume she's asking for that area.
Yeah, Scottsdale is very much, Sandra, like the Vegas area, the Southwest, of course. Again, depending upon the value of the home, Sarah, higher-end homes are not necessarily going up as much as those median homes. And when you think about that in the West Coast compared to San Francisco, New York, you get a big home for the prices between $250,000 and $450,000. Get a good real estate expert in your area to look at the prices, and they'll be able to tell you exactly what those prices are and what the future is in the next 12 months.
All right, Bob. Bob Massey. Viewers can learn so much from watching your show, as that one just mentioned. You can watch The Property Man Friday nights at 8:30 Eastern on Fox Business, and email your questions for Bob to friends@foxnews.com. Bob, thanks for joining us this morning. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Steve?
You read it.
Oh, all right. It's mine. Coming up, days after Steve Scalise was shot, another congressman releasing these threatening voicemails to his office.
We're going to hook your down, wrap a rubber around your neck, and hang you from a lamppost.
Well, House Oversight Government and Reform Committee chairperson, former now, Congressman Jason Chaffetz joins us. And we always love when you come on. You always say it like it is. But sadly, I think we first have to start off with something that has not changed. And, Chairman, as you let it be known, as you made your voicemail public, the death threats are real and they keep coming.
Yeah, look, I've had dozens of those, unfortunately. We had another person who put one out saying he was going to come slit my throat, but the U.S. attorney said, nah, we're not going to prosecute that. I mean, unfortunately, it happens regularly, but the U.S. attorneys don't prosecute these things.
We're going to play one of the voicemail that you received in your office, and then you're going to tell us what happened to this guy. Listen.
Yeah.
Ms. Chaffetz, I suggest you prepare for the battle, mother. In the apocalypse, because we're going to hook your down, wrap a rubber around your neck, and hang you from a lamppost.
So that was left on your office voicemail. You probably didn't pick it up. I'm sure it was a staff member. What happened?
Well, that's it. You get these young interns, you get your chief of staff and others that have to listen to this. The first time he left a voicemail message, nothing happened. I mean, literally nothing. It was because he left a second voicemail message that finally the authorities got involved. He was arrested, and he's going through that process in Florida. But I got stacks and mounds of written threats that people put their names to, send us emails, but again, they don't get prosecuted. And there's got to be a way to better protect members of Congress.
Congressman, are these calls that you're receiving, are your colleagues having similar experiences?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, in the case of the shooter, you know, in the case of Steve Scalise, I'm glad so glad he's on the road to recovery here. But you know, that person had contacted, I believe it was Mike Boss's office some 14 times, passed on to Capitol Hill Police. And my concern, as good and as effective as the Capitol Hill Police were in taking down the shooter, you know, what happened on the preventative side when they did pass that to the Capitol Hill Police? I don't think they did nearly enough to really assess that situation. That's my concern. That's the question I think we have to ask.
All right, there's an email thread, too, that sadly you have to share. It's Jason Chaffetz. We the people think that the best solution is to kill you. You have only brought pain and suffering to the world. Let us pray, God Almighty, please let someone kill Jason Chaffetz very soon. Yeah, you're really bad. You're overseeing the government, and you're making people be transparent in what they do. Is this part of the reason why you're getting out?
Well, there are a lot of reasons, but nobody should have to put up with that. I think there's a way to deal with this. What I'd really like to see is the Capitol Hill Police. They protect us, and we're in a fortress here at the Capitol. But outside, when we leave, we disperse and go out across the country. I really do believe it's the U.S. Marshals that should do the local threat assessment. In the case of that one, somebody should go visit this person. Somebody should probably prosecute that person. Sure. You can't just threaten members of Congress like this. And I can tell you, we could go for another hour or two showing examples from just my office.
But you're afraid that it encourages others, and it's hard to even read those or listen to them, Congressman. But there was an exchange yesterday that we want to run by you with Trey Gowdy, challenging President Obama's Homeland Security Secretary. I want to watch the exchange and get your reaction.
This was early in the summer of 2016 when we learned of the DNC hack. So if they had turned the server over to either you or Director Comey, maybe we would have known more. Why would the victim of a crime not turn over a server to the intelligence community or to law enforcement?
I'm not going to argue with you, sir. That was a leading question, and I'll agree to be led.
Congressman, a very strong suggestion there that Democrats did not cooperate with that investigation.
It is the Obama administration. Remember, all this hacking happened during the Obama administration. And here the Homeland Security Secretary is trying to help Democrats, and the Democrats put up their stiff arm and say, back off, no help needed. Now, after the fact, as Trey Gowdy points out, they're suddenly claiming that somehow it was Donald Trump's problem, or Donald Trump's fault.
And Trey Gowdy followed up, and he said one would be led to believe that there was something on that server in addition to the proof of hacking that they didn't want exposed even to their own Homeland Security.
Look, they thought they were on a glide path to the presidency. They didn't want to have any hiccups. But Donald Trump ran a much more effective campaign. And now, after the fact, the Democrats want to blame the hacking on Donald Trump. I mean, it's whatever.
It is crazy.
It's your old job.
I'm sure you saw that Judicial Watch has asked for the records regarding the unmasking of various Americans by Susan Rice, and they've been told, you know what, we can't give them to you because we shipped them all off to the Obama library, and those things are sealed for 5 years.
Yeah, this is where, again, Congress needs to stand up for themselves. When they issue a subpoena, when they ask and demand documents, the administration needs to provide those. And I'm telling you, the bowels of the bureaucracy have not been stepping up and doing that. And I would hope that the senior leadership and the White House themselves would get more personally involved to loosen up those documents. We need to be able to see those.
Right. I just don't ever heard of, I sent them to the library. Sorry, government. All right, Chairman, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
All right, 20 minutes now before the top of the hour, and Jillian's got some headlines right over there.
That's right. Good Thursday morning to you guys.